Welcome back. You're watching One on One. We're speaking with cartoonist and illustrator Gerald Scarfe. Gerald, you actually started out working in advertising as an artist when you first started a career, but you were sort of fairly disillusioned with it. Why was that?
I was disillusioned with advertising because it's lies. You know, it's telling people something which is crap, is wonderful. It's something which is shoddy, is beautiful and desirable and so forth. So in those days before photography, I had to draw lots of things. So I'd be given a rotten piece of flabby old material or something, and I had to depict it as a wonderful, sleep-enticing, fluffy blanket. And I thought how lucky I was to be an artist, you know, how I'd escaped from the asthma and all my childhood. Here I was given this gift, and I was prostituting my gift by sort of telling lies with it. And I think, in a way, when I came to draw my cartoons, I reverted to the other end of the spectrum then, to what I thought was the ultra-truth. I overdid the truth in many ways. You know, I was trying to get away from telling lies, because I think it's so important. An artist's job really is to tell you what you really can see, and to tell you that in a way that will make you see it differently, to present the world through their eyes. You know, that's why I don't really think, you know, photographic paintings are any good anymore. We want to see that artist's take on that particular scene or that particular event.
Interestingly enough, when your cartoons were political cartoons, your caricatures were first published, it was in Private Eye and Punch, the British satirical magazines. It made me wonder, what do you think is the appeal of caricatures? Why do people like them so much?
That's a tricky question. I don't really know. I think they like them perhaps because they make fun of their leaders, those in control of them and so forth. And it's quite pleasing to see, I suppose, someone's face distorted and the likeness still retained. I mean, I had a particular sort of joy, really, at one point in my life in stretching the face as far as I could and still retaining the likeness. I always liken it to a piece of chewing gum, you know, which you can stretch and stretch and stretch, and suddenly it's gone. And it's the same with a portrait. The likeness is gone after a certain point. But it's, you know, it was a thing I did to kind of entertain myself as well, really, just to see how far I could push a caricature and still keep it recognizable to the public. I mean, working in newspapers, caricatures have to be recognizable. There's no point in drawing something which no one understands or don't know who it is and so forth. So you're dealing with main characters and you're dealing with them in a way that people can respond to it. And I think they just have fun. They know they're supposed to be funny. They know they're supposed to laugh.
Now, you were sent off to Vietnam to do illustrations from there in the late 60s. I wonder what impact that had on you, because I know you're very anti-war. Seeing that what was going on in the killing fields, you also went on to Northern Ireland. You were in the Six-Day War as well, the Israeli-Palestinian. Yeah. How has that influenced your take on on war since you saw it firsthand?
Well, before I went to war, I just saw it on television, and I accepted it almost like a movie there, I suppose, like a John Wayne movie with, you know, US Marines jumping out of helicopters with the rotor blades fanning the grass and gung-ho stuff. But when I actually got to Vietnam, it was the saddest situation on both sides that I'd ever seen. I mean, first of all, there were the Americans. They were kind of 19, 20-year-old kids who'd been hoiked out of their studies and sent to the other side of the world to kill people. They didn't know why. They're in the jungle. They're lonely, they're frightened, they're away from home, you know, and they're kids. And then on the other side of the Vietnamese people, who are the gentlest people in the world, delightful kind of, you know, personalities, and like most people in most areas of the world, just want to get on with their lives. They don't want to get caught up in these professional wars organized by politicians and generals and so forth. And they have no beef with the people that they're supposed to kill. After a while, of course, they're indoctrinated and they do what they're told to do. So it was a shocking kind of event for me, and I really saw the reality of it. Instead of drawing it symbolically, as I had been by watching it on TV, I was drawing it from real kind of involvement with it. And it was scary. I mean, even I went into the morgue in Saigon because I felt as an artist I should draw everything, where they were shipping the Americans in body bags back to America, and I went in there. And I remember the sergeant said to me, "You sure you want to do this?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm an artist, I'll draw anything." And he took me into this kind of shed, a concrete shed, and I remember gripping my armpits, which was sweating, and because on each slab in there was a body. Now, half a body without heads, bodies without arms, lumps of meat in there, with medics in white coats, blood-spattered white coats, working on them. And it was scary, It's the first time I kind of really understood we are just lumps of meat, really, just we are walking around as it happens at the moment, but in actual fact, within a second, you're a lump of meat. So all of that came. I mean, I said to this sergeant, I can't draw it. I'm sorry. I just, I kind of wimped out of it. I can't do it. So, of course, that remains with me over the years. And I've seen other scenes like that, which do affect my work. And that's why I'm so anti-war. But I mean, surely everybody's anti-war, I would have thought.
One of your defining moments was your work with Pink Floyd on the Wall in 1979,
yeah.
The album, and then in '82 on the movie and so on. And it's iconic. How did that relationship with Pink Floyd start?
Well, I did a film for the BBC about America. It was an animated film.
The
long drawn out trip, and it was about everything American at that particular time. There was Mickey Mouse, Coca-Cola, Frank Sinatra, John Wayne, Black Power, Playboy magazine, everything at that time was in this film, and it sort of morphed from one thing into another all the way through. And two of the Floyd members saw it and rang one another up and said, we've got to get this guy to work with us. And that's how it really started. And then I first of all worked on Wish You Were Here. And then Roger, when he wrote The Wall, came to this house here and said, I've written this and I want to make a concert, a movie and a record out of it, which he achieved. And in the room above us now, I set out that was like the wall room. And on the wall there, I put up storyboards of how it should look and and Roger used to come, about twice a week, and we'd sit up there and discuss it and so forth. Then I'd go to his house, we'd play a lot of snooker and discuss it again. And so it came about like that, really. And then eventually it was made into a film with Alan Parker.
In 1997, you got involved with Disney and the Hercules movie, incredibly successful. Again, with the sort of what Gerald Scarfe is known for with his kind of animations, Disney and Gerald Scarfe is an unusual man.
No, I know. But you see, when I was growing up as a young child, Disney was one of my heroes, one of my outlets. And when a Disney film came out, it was like a dream. I can still remember Pinocchio coming out now. So when two guys rang me many, many years later and said that they knew me because they were students growing up in Chicago when I had lots of shows there. I had sculpture shows and art shows there. And I worked for Time magazine and other American magazines. And they were kind enough to say they were fans of mine. And they had produced The Little Mermaid, which had been very successful for Disney. And they then had the power to do what they wanted to. And they wanted me to be production designer. So it was fabulous. I mean, I just spent a year designing all the characters. Then I worked with the animators for another 2 years, going around their desks, kind of correcting it and saying this arm's too long, these noses are too big, and so on. It was the best. I mean, I always say it's the nearest I'll ever get to being Tom Cruise. I had severe limo withdrawal when I left Disney, but it was a great time. It really was.
And you've had a number of accolades. I mean, you've been named Cartoonist of the Year in the British Press Awards in 2006, and you're named as one of the top British most influential artists by the British media and everything else. How important is it to you? I mean, especially as you're so established, how important is it to still receive this kind of public recognition of your work?
It's very important in a way because I have always worked for the public. All of this, everything that I've done is popular in that meaning of the word. That I want to reach people in the street. I'm not an ivory tower artist. I'm not someone who's working in an area which is not understandable. I want it to be understandable. I want to share it with people, and that's even why I go on stage sometimes to talk about it, because I want to reach people. I want them to be enjoy. I feel these days I'm an entertainer. Maybe the satirical side has dropped back more now, although I still do those drawings. But when I design a ballet or a theater, I just had the Magic Flute in San Francisco where I designed that. I wanted people to come in and enjoy the opera, to enjoy Mozart's opera. That was my main feeling, really. I wasn't out to sort of make a satirical point there. So I think I've broadened out, really, into being a kind of an entertainer, as well as all the other things I'm renowned for.
You've done a lot, obviously, now, as we've talked about your movie work, the theatre, the artwork and so on. What's left there for you to do? Is there any burning project you want to undertake?
Well, there are. I mean, it's more of the same, I suppose, really. I just recognise how lucky I am to have escaped that sort of asthmatic bed, be doing a job that I want. When I get up in the morning and go to my studio, and I rise very early some mornings, 5, 6 in the morning, I go straight to the studio and I enjoy it. I don't go on the underground or the bus to a job that I don't like, with people I don't like, to do a job I don't like. You know, it's sort of, I'm so lucky, really. So I feel that if I could do more of the same, you know, more operas and more drawings. And I draw all the time, and drawing is still a therapy for me. It's still something that I can't wait to get back to.
Gerald, I wish you a long life. Thank you very much for talking with us.
Pleasure, thank you.